Welcome back to another episode of Thinking That Matters. I'm Elizabeth Mahusay, your show host, and I am excited to welcome back Trish Littlejohn in this series that we have been doing, and special guest today, Eleanor Dooley, who is a naturopathic doctor. So with that, Eleanor, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and share with us your credentials so that we understand the framework you are bringing to our conversation today.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. I'm Eleanor Dooley. I am a board-certified naturopathic doctor and a licensed dietitian nutritionist. So I went to grad school to learn about integrative health, and there's a kind of a distinction between a dietitian and a nutritionist. And nutrition is more about the body systems and how digestion, absorption, all of these things that we do with food affect the pathways in the body and keep us healthy, keep us with energy, keep us making hormones. And so I was digging a lot deeper into nutrition after I graduated from grad school and decided on a path of naturopathy, or really the study of how the body naturally functions and what gets in the way of that when we see things like dysfunction or disease or any of these things that happen to all of us, how to actually explain them in a way that women can understand. I have a practice downtown McKinney where I see women and I analyze their blood work, and I look at different testing and different functions so that I can explain what's happening so that we can do things to make them better so that they don't have to necessarily go the route of prescription medications or surgeries. You know, those have a time and a place, but understanding what's going on first, I think, is the most important for women.
I appreciate that. So thank you so you're saying that there's nutrition, but dietitian that's where your licensing lies.
Yeah. So the licensure, it's a little confusing because the word is licensed dietitian -nutritionist. So if you see LDN, which is one of my credentials, that's what that means. But the reason I got that credential is because I've got the degree in nutrition. It's not a big deal. It's just dietitians tend to work within the healthcare system. So dietitians can take insurance and things like that because their line of training is through the medical system. Mine is not through the medical system. That's why I don't take insurance. I'm cash pay, and I'm not a medical doctor. I don't diagnose. I don't treat. I explain and educate.
Got it. Well, before we launch into our questions, Trish, just in case someone's watching this for the first time and they've missed out on all of our amazingness over the last few episodes, tell them who you are and what you do, and then we will start asking questions.
I am Trish Littlejohn, and my husband and I own a company called Trimark Home Construction. Stands for Trish and Mark, and we do all kinds of fun stuff. I don't know that I'm as fun as Eleanor, but my name isn't quite as fun as Eleanor. I like that.
Yeah, it's a fun name.
Anyway, so that's me. That's a little bit about me.
I love it. And Trish and I go way back. We've known each other for more than a decade, and so we have a lot of fun together.
We do.
So get ready, Eleanor.
Okay,
get ready to have some fun.
Good time. Yeah.
Okay, so some of the things that we have talked about in this series, the things that they don't tell you when they come into the 50s, when you get into your 50s, is first of all, we've talked about the fact that it's not talked about.
Yeah.
Like you start having all of these symptoms and you start going, why did someone not prepare me? I mean, they talk about it on the fringe, I might say. What have you found in your experience in speaking with and trying to explain to women what's going on? What is underneath that? Why do we not talk about it enough?
Yeah, there's a lot of, this is just my personal opinion after speaking to women and studying what's going on. And I was actually just talking to Trish about this, is women's health in general, in my opinion and my experience, has been kind of on the hush anyway. Growing up, learning about your menstrual cycle, there really wasn't any talk about it. maybe in your household, if you had a mother or a sister that explained things to you, but certainly
a good point.
Certainly a doctor never told me about. And then when I did learn, what I learned was these are the days that you can get pregnant. So, and then this is how you take care of it when, it comes. That's really the only education I received and I was, in my 20s on birth control. I had no idea that the cycle had all of these little things that went on throughout the month, making us completely different than the anatomy of a man, meaning they go through different cycles. But a lot of the research and the research on diets, for example, were done mostly on men. And so when we look at different things that get suggested to us, for example, a good one is weight loss. Studies done, everybody was into intermittent fasting. That was like the thing.
Yes.
And some people still are. And it has its place. I'm not saying things are right or wrong, but what I'm saying is when people talk about data and research, if they don't understand what the data was, who it was done on, or who it was for, then it might not apply to you. And so I have women in my office all the time saying, well, I'm fasting to lose weight because if I don't eat, I won't gain weight. And I usually say, well, how is it going? Right?
It's not.
It's exactly. And that's there's a little bit of deprogramming of, let's look at what the research actually says, or what is your lived experience. If, doing something works for you and your metabolism and your cultural DNA and the way that you grew up, then we'll go with that. But for the most part, as a society, we're metabolically broken. Not that we can't be fixed, but we don't have the answers or the information. We don't know what to ask. We don't know where to go. We don't know who to trust. We're seeing people on social media selling supplements, and we think it's a good match. And so
it's AI. It's not even them.
Could be.
Yeah, I knew.
And that's very interesting that you say that, because I have people coming into my office saying they put their blood work into ChatGPT, and so they already know what it says. And I say, well,
how accurate is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you know anything about AI, it's as accurate as what you tell it. So did you tell it your health history and your history of prescriptions and how many children you had or miscarriages you had, or that you have active, immune response? Or most likely no, right?
Right.
You throw it in there and go, what does this mean? Yeah. And so it will spit out what it knows. Which is why I'm not scared of AI taking over my job, because if it could, the critical thinking involved in the comprehensive understanding
yes.
is just not possible.
Well, because the reality is it's not human.
Yeah.
Let's just keep saying that.
That's a good point.
It is not human.
Correct.
So we have to keep that in mind. So
it's kind of like being a medical doctor, as in we looked at MD online. You're like, I don't feel good. I'm going to Google that and see what it tells me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's sort of in that concept.
Well, and what's interesting, I was thinking about that for a different training that I was doing on office culture, and the metaphor that I was developing was that, that's exactly what we do. We go to MD online, we put in our quote symptoms, and then it sends us back this diagnosis. But sometimes the diagnosis isn't the problem. It's what we do about the perceived diagnosis that becomes the problem. And because it doesn't have all of the information that is necessary, that comprehensive look. I'm still not stuck, but thinking about the call out that you made about women's health has almost always been hush hush.
Right. Mm-hmm. To get back to your original question, so I think there's always been, throughout the centuries, probably there's shame associated with it, right? And women are told not to talk about it, not to go hide, to, not show a tampon in your purse, right? Like there's a lot of sort of secrecy and shame. And I think that rolls into menopause as well, because I perceive it as it's getting a lot better these days. But back in the day, women complain. They're they're tired or they're this or they're that. And there's a connotation with, oh, are you on your period? Oh, is that why you're acting this way? Are you in menopause?
Yeah.
Are you, like it's a medical affliction. Or something that isn't.
I'm afflicted.
Yes.
That's
funny.
And that's
love
how they
it.
treat it. And it's a natural process that the 50% of the population goes through from the day they are born to the day that they die. They go through all of these cycles. And now women like us are going, no, that's not good enough for, like, I have a daughter, the next upcoming generations of like, I want to break the shame and the secrecy around it because, as far as I know, men don't have shameful medical transitions that they get treatment, they get seen, they get every other commercial is about Viagra,
I was gonna say. Okay, but here's the thing. I saw this. I'm just thinking about what you were saying because when we did our product reviews.
Yeah.
I brought an estrogen, like an estradiol cream product that is, it's designed to help the vaginal lining because that's part of the challenge for women in having sex as they get older. And she was like, I'm impressed. You were brave to do that. And I saw recently, probably because my phone hears these conversations that we're having.
That's
so,
true.
It has an in, but it was like men get to take a pill.
Yep.
Right? Viagra's in a pill. What do we have to do? That's what I was telling her. Like they want you to put something on your hand. You got to insert.
That's even if you have access to getting it.
True.
Yeah. Right? Like if fundamentally, the FDA hasn't even approved testosterone for women in the United States. It's just not, it's not mainstream. And we're in 2026, right? It's almost laughable, the lag on research and accessibility for women. So you're absolutely right. It's and I think it all goes with this cloud of being a woman should be.
This is great perspective that she's bringing to the overall conversation that we have had. To your point of the shame, the secrecy, and that
or the negative connotation.
Yes.
Oh, you're on your period.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be on your period.
Yeah, because you have an opinion.
Your dad,
you have an opinion or you stand up for yourself. Oh, well, you must be. And
no, the room's just hot. I just want to turn the fan on. It has nothing to do with metabolic. It's always something. But yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought of it that way. Had you?
I hadn't either. That's.
But don't you say that?
Yeah,
it's like women with heart disease. It's the number one killer, right?
Yep.
But a man comes in and says, "I don't feel so good," and he's got the typical symptoms. Women go, "Hey, I've got this jaw pain or I've got shoulder blade pain." They could be having a heart attack, but that's not what they assume. They'll go, "Oh, you're just overstressed. Oh, you're multitasking." A man walks in, they put him on a heart monitor, they check it.
Yep.
You're having a heart attack.
Yeah, it's almost as if women don't get taken seriously the first go round. No. And that's a generalized statement. Please don't come, please don't come at me with, I'm saying the big world out there.
No.
But I'm just saying that you're absolutely right. They'll take the word and they'll take a man at his word, but a woman has to hoot and holler and have.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that come to my mind coming out of this portion of our conversation. It's what can when you think about the conversations that you're having, what would you say to the woman listening about how we break this cycle? I want you to give some practical things, or whether it's what we're saying, what we're doing, that can help break this cycle of the shame attachment, the negative connotation that Trish is talking about.
Yeah. Well, first, like I said, I have a 12-year-old daughter, so I'm seeing it from a different perspective as far as mothering her and the things I talk about, and she doesn't want to know any of this stuff, right? But it's the making it normalized conversation, not in front of the world, right? We're not trying to embarrass anybody. But so I think normalizing conversations, and women like us, it's normalizing to talk about HRT or menopause. We all have kind of a good laugh. We share some of our symptoms, and then we're like, well, what are you doing about it? What are you doing? So I think the first thing is normalizing the language. And helping women find access, I think, is my number 2, because if you don't have insurance, HRT is medically a medical prescription, so you have to have a prescribing doctor. A lot of people don't have insurance. They don't have they don't have doctors that they go to. Sometimes they're led, they're Googling, like we said, and they're finding online doctors. And it's not that is a bad route. It's just a lot of people are getting prescriptions with no information, with no follow-up. With this prescription comes with these lifestyle altering things that you need to do in order to support the medication. Or if you choose to not do medication, which is the route that I use, I explain to people what's happening in the body. What happened when your cycles were bad 20 years ago or 5 years ago? What was happening was this. And that, just because your ovaries have retired, doesn't mean that the problem with that was gone. It's just a different issue now, right? And so I like to, so in my office, sharing with women, I'm like, let me just tell you a story about your biology, because it is long overdue. And any young person that that's willing to have a conversation about their period, it's normalizing that, hey, I've birthed 3 kids. Like there's been a lot of things that my body has been through, and I want to share maybe I made some mistakes along the way. We all have, but sharing that and normalizing it rather than the sort of, oh well, if I don't tell anybody, then you just. I think the default is to just not say anything.
Just to not say anything.
And then if you have a doctor, you're just like, oh, I don't want to explain to him that again or her again that I have migraines or I have this or that. Because when that happened to me, all I got was prescriptions for pain medication. And I'm like, I don't want to necessarily, I do want to numb the pain because I have to live my life. But that's not and they're like, well, just take one every day for the rest of your life. And I'm like,
no,
that doesn't and I think most women don't want that as the answer, but that's all they're given, or they're given SSRIs, anti-anxiety medications.
I hear that a lot.
To treat the complaining, not to treat the symptoms. And
because it takes longer to figure out what's wrong than it is just to prescribe something.
Yeah.
And they actually typically, I think they get paid when they do prescribe certain things, right? But at the same time, it just takes longer. Most of the time, doctors only have so much time with us in an office because they have to get to the next patient.
Yeah.
And they just can't, this just takes too long, because sometimes you're not sure what to share with them to figure out what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Because now I'm oversharing, you think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty open, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, maybe that was TMI. I didn't need to share all that, I guess. Yeah. But the truth is, it kind of does pertain to that.
Absolutely.
They're like, oh, you didn't say you had this. And you're like, well, I didn't think it was important. But you don't know what you don't know. But I feel like that's what the kind of doctor you are, is that you are asking a lot more questions so you can figure out how you could give them good advice.
Yeah.
What to do.
You can't, it's sort of you're at a Christmas party and they're like, you're a doctor, can you look at this mole that I have, right? Yes, that. I always think that.
Exactly.
I'm like, this is why I do comprehensive full blood work panels. Not what the conventional doctor or your insurance covers. That's maybe 20 markers. I do over 90 markers, and it's not just because it's fancy technology. It tells me the entire story.
It helps you to know the story.
And I can get to the point faster and with more precision than the 4 minutes that you're sitting in front of a doctor and you're like, oh, I forgot to tell him I've been constipated for 2 months. And he's giving you a prescription that causes constipation, right?
Which only exacerbates the original problem.
Yeah.
So I think this would be a good place to pause. And the idea of the naturopathic, approach.
Yeah.
Help paint the story for someone listening of what it's like to engage with you so they understand how this fits into what they're desiring, the outcome they're desiring of understanding what's going on with their biology.
Sure. And so you talked about, I forgot to mention that I had this, or my mom has diabetes or whatever. So I do a full, I have a very in-depth form before you even step into my office of all of the questions that I would possibly want to know before I could move on. So tell me your health history. Tell me what medications you're on, where you know, all of that stuff.
Right.
The typical stuff that, you know, you kind of fill out. But mine's a little bit more like, you know, do you sneeze in certain rooms, right? That seems like a random question, but it can tell me that maybe you have a mold exposure that is causing respiratory issues, and you never related that to your nose constantly running. Like, there's a lot of questions that I ask because I'm formulating the pathways in the body that are being most effective, and it's not always obvious. I mean, you could have a headache for 1,000 different reasons, right? So if you just went to your doctor, I have a headache, they're immediately going, what can I do to stop your headache, right? I'm going, what questions can I ask to figure out why you have this headache?
What's causing the headache in the first place?
Are you dehydrated? Are you this? Are you that? So I do an extensive, before I even meet the person, the woman, and then I do the comprehensive blood work panel. When that comes back to me, I do a full analysis. So I take the intake form, and then I take the blood work, and then I have them both on my screen, and I sit and I look at it, and I walk through it as if it's a puzzle of like, well, she has this symptom, and that would indicate this, but the blood work's not showing that, but it's showing this. And so I figure out the pathways, and I can't always figure everything out, right? This isn't magic, but I get very good at going, okay, when this person is sitting in front of me, then I'm going to ask this specific question, because that is what's going to give me the answer. Then I create a video of my screen, and I tell them the story of their blood work. And I say, this is dependent on this pathway and this system, and this is a little off. And when this is off, this is off. And this is off because you're probably dehydrated. You know, most people are dehydrated before they do blood work because you have to fast, and then, you know, whatever reasons. So I create this video so they're in their own home. They can watch the video, peace and quiet, hopefully, and really digest what I'm saying. So it's not 2 minutes in a room where I'm telling you all these acronyms that you never heard of, and I'm like, and you might have, you know, this, and you might have that, and we got to look at, you know, and then you walk out going, I don't know anything that she said.
Yeah, you're traumatized because your brain shuts down because it's overwhelming.
And you're just thinking of the one word that I said.
You're thinking, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
I still don't know why I don't feel good.
Right. So I do that, and I have women coming in saying, I watched your video like 3 different times. And I said,
that makes sense.
Awesome, because you wrote it down, and now you understand the language in which I'm going to speak to you as well. So if there was an area where you're like, I did not understand the cholesterol piece, can you break it down? Then I spend time when we have our 1-hour introduction where I'm like, okay, now I'm answering actual questions that you have. I'm putting you at ease. I've already given you the information, right? The stuff, there's no big reveals or I've got something to tell you. Oh gosh, it's none of that. It's you're already prepared. You already feel pretty empowered because you're like, okay, I have a handle on what she's going to say. Now we can talk about what to do about it. And that's the part where they walk out going, okay, she said something about my cholesterol, but we're going to work on it with these 3 things, and that's what I'm focusing on for this month. And they walk out, you know, happy that they got the information, they have a plan that makes sense with their lifestyle. I'm not going to tell a stay-at-home mom of young children the same thing I'm going to tell a corporate woman who doesn't have any kids and works, you know, 90-hour weeks. Like, they're not living the same lifestyle. They cannot do the same things. So it's very personalized, but it's very comprehensive. That's how I hopefully educate, put them at ease, and then empower them to want to do the steps. Because sometimes the steps aren't easy, right? How we
you
got
have to
here.
change how you eat.
Yes.
You have to change from maybe it's an exercise
everybody
routine.
has a different economical.
Yep.
You know, you might say, I suggest this, and they say, but I can't afford that.
Yep.
So what else could I do?
Exactly.
I would think.
And that's the conversations I want to have. And I go, are you having any trouble with these things that I'm saying? Like, is this an impossibility? Because if it is, let's maybe do half of it then.
Sure.
Right? Let's do something, because it's not prescriptive as far as medicine. It's anything we can do to make your system work better. Let's start at the bare bones. And if that's just nutrition, we can start with that. if you can do other things, like we can make this as deep as you're willing to go.
So to be clear, you are not writing prescriptions
Absolutely
for
not.
people, right?
No.
Okay. So you would be taking more of, again, that natural approach, which could be supplements, it could be nutrition, eating. Is part of your service mapping out nutrition plans, like what to eat, when to eat? I don't know. So that's why I'm asking out of curiosity.
Yeah, of course. Because pretty much the number one thing I see in blood work with women that are struggling with the typical is weight that doesn't move or you keep gaining, and fatigue. And then my hormones, like this sort of, it is generic, vague. I don't know what's happening. I'm just labeling it this. So where I start is metabolism or blood sugar and insulin. And that is really important because how you eat determines your metabolism or your metabolic stability. And every single system in your body depends on that. So.
Or when do you eat?
Yes, well, timing.
Some women eat really late in the day because they're busy all day long, so it's early evening. Now they're finally eating, and now we're going to bed.
Right, and in that instance, I could be looking at their blood work where their blood sugar is really high, it's mismanaged, and they're like, I don't eat junk food. Well, let's look at the time that you're eating, because your body needs fuel. It needs glucose all day long. But you're only giving it fuel. It would be like driving a car and only filling up at the end of the road trip, right? Like it would just be like, well, the car's not going to go.
You're like limping along to try to get there. Yeah, that's an excellent point. So I want to just hang out here just for a moment on the weight that doesn't move and the fatigue, because those are things that of all the conversations that we've had, that's very common.
Yeah.
The third one that I would add to that is what feels, to me, it felt like it came out of nowhere. I'm sure that's not the case, but I would never have described myself as an anxious person. But then I reached this stage where I would have this, what felt like onset of anxiety, like out of nowhere. And I'm thinking, what is going on? Like, I would not describe myself as an anxious person. And so I do believe those are common symptoms that we hear people talking about, and the weight's attached to it.
Weight's pretty much attached to every aspect of, I think, a female's life, pretty much.
Yeah, from the time that they start their period, because doesn't weight typically come on to a young girl once her period, when she begins menstruating? Yeah,
well, we kind of vilify fat, right? But our body makes it to protect us. Especially women carry more body fat because we're doing different things with hormones. Our hormones come from fat. They're made out of it. So we need more of them to menstruate, to ovulate. Now, I'm not talking about cheeseburgers here. I mean, I'm talking about healthy fats that turn into cholesterol, and your hormones are made from cholesterol. So if we understand the processes of why and the deeper understanding of nutrition, people kind of, when I used to tell people, oh, I'm a nutritionist, they're like, oh, that's kind of a cute hobby. I know. I understand macros too. And I'm like, no, biochemistry and understanding the way that the organs actually use these nutrients, and when it's missing, what happens? And that's when we get downstream symptoms that we're saying, well, my hair's falling out. This really sucks. Well, let me go take some hair nutrient things. And I'm like, well, let's trace it all the way back to why there's a deficiency in the first place. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Well, that's
it was all good information.
It was definitely good information, because, and you said something that sparked also another thought, is that, part of what we're seeing a lot on, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, the Reels, I mean, this is where people are getting a lot of their information. It is about macros.
Right.
And, and I think people do believe they have an understanding of macros when they don't really have an understanding of macros.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think we all have a basic understanding that having a salad is better than having, French fries, and so we kind of dumb it down to the bare, salad's healthier for me. Well, there's actually people that can't digest raw vegetables. It's a digestive dysfunction.
Or if they use a cup of dressing, then that's probably not a great salad either.
Sure. Yeah.
So you can make the salad dressing not so good for you.
Yeah. So we got to look at the whole picture and not just rules. Mm-hmm. And I think people want rules. They want 30 grams of protein every meal. And I do think that that's a good idea, right? I'm a nutritionist at heart, but I when I first started my practice in nutrition only, I was like, I'm a non-diet nutritionist. I'm not somebody that's like, everybody has to go on keto or everybody has to do this. I think everybody should be eating breakfast, but let me look at your blood work, because if you're not a breakfast person and your blood work looks healthy and happy and it works for you, then do it. So I think the understanding macros is, the way I learned it was just, 3 percentages and, just go from there. And I don't think that's a bad course of action, but there's a lot more to it.
Well, I also think too, so one of the things, so just to stay on this macros for a moment, because you do a comprehensive blood panel and you're looking at that blood panel information along with the questionnaire, and you said it's like a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
What I put here is your problem solving. You're critically thinking through to uncover the questions to ask. That's the core of the initial portion of how you engage with someone. But even just like what you said about macros, oftentimes people, they have the basic concept of macros, but they're not actually tracking the macros in a way that allows them to be informed about those 3 percentages and what they're getting from each one.
Yeah.
I experienced this my own self. Like, I had used MyFitnessPal years ago.
Yep.
I used it to effectively manage my weight then, but then I got away from it. And then, then I hit my 50s, and next thing you know, I'm at a weight that I haven't been at since I had my second child. And when I got back to I got to get this under control, the first thing that my gal said was, MyFitnessPal. I was like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, oh, it's like reacquainting with a good friend.
Yeah.
But I had no clue, like, to your point, like, you can eat a salad, but there are salads that are 1,000 calories, right? And you get barely any protein in them.
That's right.
Right? It's just filled with a bunch of junk. So really becoming informed about, what are lean proteins and how many, how many grams of protein are you getting, and being able to see it. It's like you cannot master what you are not measuring.
Right.
And I think a lot of times as women, we kind of have it up in our head.
Yep.
Like, I know I need to do it. And this is kind of not that bad. I'm only having a few fries, even though I don't know exactly how many calories I'm getting from those empty calories, I would say, from those fries. But I just think that's important, being able to, you're looking at the numbers to critically determine what are best next steps. And we should be doing the same thing. Yeah.
And when you say numbers, I'm looking at nutrient deficiencies. Like, yes, to answer your question, do I create meal plans? And I do. I have software that helps me do it, so it's easy to understand. You know what to buy. You know how to do it. Like, nothing has to be complicated. But there's a lot of questions I need to ask first. If you have an aversion to eating broccoli because it makes you bloated, like, that's a piece of information that there might not be something digesting correctly. Or if you have food in your stool, you're not digesting your food. Or if you have loose and runny stool, you're not digesting your food. So when we're talking about calories, if you're not absorbing the food, the calories don't really count for nutrition. You're not getting, so I could see on your blood work that you're low in magnesium. Well, I take a magnesium supplement every night. Well, you're probably taking the wrong kind. And you're probably taking it maybe in not the right amounts that what you need. Maybe you're taking it in conjunction with something that inhibits absorption. So there's a lot of critical thinking that has to happen to go, why doesn't the blood work match what you're saying? Because it matches. I just have to figure out what else is going on in the background. And that's what I feel like when people bring in all these supplements they saw on TikTok, and I'm like, Okay, so the person that sold you these, what were their credentials? Obviously, they probably don't know, and that's okay. And maybe they are credentialed. So I do ask. A lot of the time, they're very good at marketing, which is why you purchase them.
Yes.
But what you purchase them for is not what is happening in your body, or it's not the right amount. It's not the right kind. It's the ingredients come from China, or they're not
regulated.
They're not regulated. Mm-hmm. They bought them on Amazon, which please don't buy your supplements on Amazon. They can be altered because they're not regulated. So.
Interesting.
People can buy the bottle, empty the bottle.
Your face looks like you buy them on Amazon.
Well, no. Actually, the only thing that we've ever gotten on Amazon is through Thorn.
Yes, and there are certain brands that have their own stores, so that one is fine.
To know.
Yes, right.
A nutritionist is the one who suggested that we use Thorn, and what she was saying is that the quality of that product is significantly better than your average. Your average supplement.
And that's exactly right. I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, you could go into the aisle of Walmart and get a vitamin D just right off the shelf. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But if you're walking in, Sprouts or Whole Foods, and you're in the section where there's 20 different kinds and absorption rates and all of that, well, I can help you with the exact one that you need. But you do acknowledge that those are two different products that say that they're the same thing. It's like buying a car, right? You can buy a $5,000 car. You could buy a $500,000 car. They're both cars. You have to know what you're investing in, what you're doing, what you're putting in your body. And a lot of people just don't know where to find that information. And so I help not only with what to eat, how to eat, the timing of eating, but how you're walking through your life and making these choices for yourself. They might just need a little bit of tweaking so that you can do the best
so
that you can.
So what would you say an average appointment with you is?
That's a good question.
And then how many appointments to be with you before you start to be able to narrow some stuff down? Because, even if it's just an hour goes by really fast.
Yeah.
And maybe you still haven't hit all the points you need to kind of have them walk away and kind of feel like, oh, I have some clarity.
Yeah.
Is there a process?
So, and that's one of the reasons I do the blood work before.
Sure. Okay.
Right? Because that's a big portion of, and it's overwhelming for people to grasp. So I kind of get that out of the way, the academic of it out of the way.
So some people are willing to go do that, even though they haven't met you. They're willing to go get all their blood work done.
Well, when they come to the practice, we do an intake call. It's a free call. So anybody, if you're like, I'm not sure if this is for me,
might
this
hear
is
today.
If you want a free call, call and we'll answer your questions. We'll tell you the process. We'll tell you, how much and when, and I'll go through a little bit of it here.
Okay.
So it's not the first time, but it's explaining what I'm explaining to you now of like, if I have all of the puzzle pieces, like that first session, we're going to get some clarity. Now, some people come in with 10 things that they need to work on, and some people come in with 2 things. So what I have to do is prioritize in functional order.
Okay.
Like if you want to talk about hormones, we can't get to the hormones. We can't get to all the sexy stuff until I know what your blood sugar is doing.
Sure.
So I couch it as we have to go blood sugar, and then we have to do toxicity, because if you're using a lot of toxic products and you have a really terrible diet and there's lifestyle issues that are thwarting your success, there's no supplements that are going to fix that.
Right.
There's no medications going to fix that. So that might take a few sessions.
That's the greater priority.
Yeah, that might help. That might get me. So the follow-ups are 20 minutes, and I recommend them about once a month. It's a check-in. You can do a virtual. You can come in. And that is more of a status. What happened with the supplements? For example, if somebody has low iron, giving them iron supplements and telling them how to eat iron-rich foods and timing. Are you getting more energy? Most of 99% of the time, they're like, yes, I feel like I've never felt in years. And I'm like, okay, because we're repleting something that you didn't know was a deficiency. And, I'm teaching you how to eat that way. So the supplement, when we get you to a good level, we can back off the supplements. I don't want you on supplements forever. I want to get you to a healthy maintenance and then teach you how to
eat
navigate.
in a way that creates what you need.
Yeah. So I see them for, about the 6-month mark. If depending on what the blood work is, I'm like, we can rerun the blood work and look at if we're looking for weight loss. In particular, I work with a lot of peptides. So peptides are extremely helpful for inflammation reduction, weight loss, of course, metabolic rebalancing. Okay. So I love to show people side by side their blood work. This was 6 months ago when you first met me. This is what we've been doing for 6 months. You feel better. You look, your hair's starting to grow back, like all of these things. And so I've got to keep them remembering. Remember when you came in here with all those headaches? You don't have them anymore? And people are like, oh yeah, totally forgot. You had diarrhea for the better part of a decade and you don't have that anymore. So it's getting people to a livable, happy balance and then going, okay, the dust is starting to settle. It's like a burning house. It's like we can put out the fire, but we have to wait till the smoke gets out so we can look at where it started, what's going on. And a lot of times that's what I deal with inflammation. I've got to get your inflammation down because I can't tell what's going on because the body's freaking out.
So you said you deal with a lot of peptides. That's obviously a raging topic right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different companies. I'm seeing more and more med spas offering peptides.
Yes.
Different offices like that offering it. So is that something that you're selling through your practice, or what is that like?
Yeah. So yes, peptides are available. They're my favorite thing to talk about. And maybe it's another podcast, but to answer
probably
you,
so.
Yeah. To answer you kind of quickly, it's yes, I do offer them in my practice through a third party that is medically supervised because they're offered as a prescription. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't prescribe. But what is happening, I'm seeing, is people that are getting them online or through the med spas. If there's not a trained nutritionist or a person that understands how they metabolically work in the body, it's kind of the Wild West. Like, where are these peptides coming from? How are you being dosed? What are they doing? What are the symptoms? And so I'm doing it more, I would say, therapeutically. I'm using it just as I would a supplement. Like, we're going to try this, and then we're going to fix the diet, and then we're going to, see if your sleep gets better, and then we're going to track your weight loss, or we're going to make sure you're not iron deficient, or we're going to make sure, because some people come in, they're like, I've been on the fullest dose of tirzepatide for 6 months, and nothing is happening. And I'm like, okay, well, your body's not
responding.
Reacting.
Yeah.
So, your body's not responding. There's a lot more work we need to do. And you need to go back to the provider and get you titrated off so we can fix it and then potentially get you back on. So,
and to be clear, what you just said is a peptide.
Tirzepatide. Yes.
Tirzepatide. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually two peptides together. The most famous ones everybody knows are things like Ozempic and Wegovy. Those are peptides. GLP-1 receptor antagonists is what they're called. But a lot of people, everybody kind of wants, they're interested, they're curious, are they good for me? Will it work for me? And I kind of warn people of let's do your blood work first, because then we can see what you actually need.
Yeah. Versus just, it's a quick fix.
Yeah. I don't want to say fix. It's a quick acting. But if you don't have,
possibly too. People think, okay.
But and people that you probably heard horror stories, right? Or you're like, oh, that person's on peptides and this happened to her. She looks like a skeleton and all of these things. And I usually respond with, well, what else did they change? Did they change their nutrition? Did they start strength training? Are they in combination with HRT? If that's, most of the time they're like, oh no, they didn't change their lifestyle at all. In fact, they started, eating more junk and doing less because they're losing weight. And I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just I want to take care of the metabolic mechanisms of the body that will make you better human. It make your systems work better, that you live longer and you live happily longer.
So just for the sake of time, because I perceive that we could go on for probably another hour, and we can definitely have you back on specifically around the peptides conversation, because that, I think there's a lot of, not misinformation, but not enough information is how I'm going to say it. I think there's not enough understanding around it, and the need to have the other supporting elements around peptides. So we will get you scheduled to have that conversation. My whole podcast is around thinking that matters. And what Trish and I have explored in this whole series is, different elements of it, the thinking. I loved your perspective that you brought around the taboo nature, that the fact that we just, historically, we don't talk a lot about women's health. I ask every guest, and I really want to ask you this as it relates to our topic today. Why is it important to cultivate thinking that matters around this?
Well, everybody has a mother. If you're not a woman yourself, right, you have women in your life. And it's become my mission in life to empower them to not stay quiet if there's something that needs to be said, not just about, injustices, but taking care of their body. It shouldn't be shameful to have an experience that probably millions of other people are having as well, and you don't know where to go. You know resources might be possible, but maybe you got some bad information, or so it matters because we matter. We as women matter. We're mothers, we're daughters, we're sisters. We keep this world going, by the way. So it matters for us to have accessible education and information that is accurate and that is applicable, that we can use to be better, to train our upcoming daughters and the next generation.
Love that. I know. So good. Wow. Oh, my word. Okay, so this is where I always like to say, tap that 30 seconds previous and listen to that again, because so good what you were saying. Thank you so much, Eleanor, for being on. Trish, always fun having you on the show. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. That's how we expand our reach. Share this episode with the women that are in your life who would be encouraged to be empowered with the information that Eleanor has shared. And check out in the show notes how you can learn more about Eleanor's practice and also start your journey on the holistic view of your health and what you can do to cultivate thinking that matters around you having or being the most healthy version of yourself.